Hey guys and gals, it's me, Sybil, your friendly neighborhood unicorn, right? Um, so I've been going over the Bitcoin chart and kind of wondering when I'm gonna do my normal post, right? um, and I usually like to wait until the moves have come in really before I do another report. Um, just because they take so long. And I thought, well, I'm sitting here recording readings, so I may as well go ahead and record this. And one of the things that's really been important to me is perspective, right? I think we can all grasp that idea. Um, but I really wanted to be able to do this on my own without looking at other people's perspectives so that I knew it was, me. Anyway, in doing that, I had to learn how to use a bunch of different indicators, styles, and things like that. So that's why you guys see me posting, you know, targets based on liquid moving averages, Bollinger Bands, patterns, whatever, just simple stuff. It's kind of my way of bringing confluence to myself, in case I, you know, am in a situation where there is no confluence, right? Like I can find it for myself. So that's why I go back and back test a lot of these, but I'll get to it. This is actually the daily on Bitcoin. Um, and you can see we've tagged the 800 EMA. That is typically, you know, a rally point when coming off a top. And we obviously had a top. It was a higher high in Bitcoin's price action in October. And we started coming down from that. Now, typically, when we've made a top, right, and we're going to continue up, we don't really come back to the daily 800 EMA in the entire run. I mean, you can see all the way back, you know, like we don't touch that 800 EMA until we are coming, until we have come off that top and we're going in to make that low, right? This here would be, let me see if I can see my dates here. Of course, all this is in my way. Sorry about that, guys. Um, so you're looking at January of 2015 here, and this was the bottom off of that December 2013 top here. Once it came off the top and hit that daily 800, it had a rally and then finally lost the daily 800 and moved down. The same thing here. Once you hit your top in December of 2017, corrected, had your rallies, and it hit that daily 800 in 2017, it just swiped through until it found its bottom in 2018. Now you will see when it recovers the daily 800 that there is a back test of it, right? And then when they finally recover it for the last time, you move up. And that's what we did in 2022. Now, the fact that we corrected from here, found support under, never tagged the daily 800 EMA, we had to move back up. That was a signal that this was kind of like a fake out to the downside, a collection of liquidity where it came down and it traveled sideways, right? But it never touched that daily 800. On the second run up, it came back, touched the daily 800 and rallied, right? And I think it was about 63 days or so. I've kind of been looking at this pretty strongly. Um, from the time it hit, yeah, to the time it lost, let me see, where was it? Turn my magnet on here. So from the time it hit that daily 800 to the time it made its top, must have been around there. Yeah, it was like 63 days. And once it made that final top, it lost the daily 800 EMA before it found support and rallied again, right? Well, what I have found is if you go to the 3 day, right? Because now here we are, we're at the daily 800. When we recovered it back here between in 2023, what is this, from March of 2023 until she finally recovered it fully in October of 2023. That was your back test. That was your recovery, because this daily 800 can bring a bit of a struggle, right? Now, we've not touched it again since, right? We kind of had that fake out to the downside and that sideways movement here. But where does she go and where does she find support once she breaks the daily 800? Well, if we look at our 3 day here, you can see, oh no, wait a minute, it's not my 3 day. I'm sorry, I might have to blind you all with my main chart here in just a second. Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. So we're usually right down here around the 200, I believe it is. Let me see here. I think it's either the 2 day. Yeah, it's the 2 day maybe. Yeah, you're looking at the 2 day 800 EMA. Sorry about that. Sorry, this is how I take my notes. So not to try and blind you all, but that's the move that I'm looking at now, right? Now, will she actually come all the way to the 2 day 800? I mean, that's quite a move, and Bitcoin can make those moves. And one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and get this in quickly is because of that rejection off the weekly 50 EMA, right? Like we've had that 63 days here to go from bottom to top. So that was about 56 days. It's been about 63 now. That's a hard rejection off that weekly 50 EMA. And so it is possible that we come in for this test of the daily 800 EMA. You might catch a wick of support here, but these little sections here, that's not actually a very strong liquid zone. I feel like if they're going to lose this here at 82.26, when they lose the 800 EMA, that we're going to actually see a swipe through the 3-week 50 EMA, and it's possible that it catches some sort of temporary support right here around the 5-day 200 SMA, right? That's your green right here. Well, let's go ahead and move this up here because that's where she's going. So you're more at the 71,000 mark as kind of a temporary support. The 2-day 800 EMA, I think that's a pretty good target. If you look back Here, we did catch some temp support right around here on the 5-day 200. But if you look at the 2-day 800, where it fell, right? It literally tagged it, bounced, and rallied. We could get a move like that. It's happened before, right? I mean, if it's happened before, it doesn't mean it'll never happen again. So it is a possibility. One of the things that I've done is I've been tracking these moving averages and how they respond with one another between time frames. So like in comparing where price goes when your 1 hour 800 EMA actually falls below your 4 hour 800 EMA. There's typically some downside pressure with a move like that, right? And so one of the things that I do is I go back and I'm like, okay, let's look at what other signals, right, for that downside, because that rejection, I mean, off that 50 EMA on the weekly here is a really strong rejection. Okay. I'm going to turn my bands on real quick and just see where they are. Yeah. When your bands, when the Bollinger Bands are like this, right, where there's no floor, the possibility of losing and sliding through that band is very high, right? And you have a liquid zone that ends here at the 1 fib at 68,997. For those that have really been looking for a strong, say, move ups, in 2026, where Bitcoin comes in and makes a higher high, right? Personally, I feel like if it was going to do a move like that, it would do it from the top. That kind of move would act as more of a back test of the previous highs, right? Back here in 2021. So you have your high in 2021. It was big resistance when we hit it again over here in 2024, right? I mean, we traveled with very strong resistance there for, what is that, 147 days at least. Actually, a little bit more if you include this time spent before actually printing out this breakout candle here. So can she come down, confirm it, right? This is your breakout. This was resistance. This was your breakout. You might have thought that this was coming back and testing that zone as support. No, I mean, that's what it is, right? It's, I mean, you can't deny it. So it's like it's been tested once right there. But at the same time, could she come back in for a double bottom, right? As more confirmation that, boom, this is support. It might wick down, but this top here is now support and then bounce. I mean, I guess anything is possible. I wouldn't rule it out. I don't really like ignoring different perceptions. It's usually the one you ignore that will bite you in the backside, right? So I'm not ruling it out. The likelihood of it, from what I've been tracking in the moving averages and the Bollinger Bands, liquid zones, I feel like that's going to be the loss of the daily 800. I really do. Because these struggles, when they come in, there is bouncing above and below. So a wick down to that, a collection of this zone and a wick down here, and then a bounce, and a bounce that breaks out to a climb up toward another all-time high. I don't really know that I see something like that. I mean, the perception is there. So we won't ignore it, right? We'll know that when it comes around this zone, that this is going to be a high risk zone, right? As far as going long, but it is still a perception. I personally tend to go with it landing more on the 200 or the 2-day 800 EMA. And a lot of that is because of the liquid that is laying down here under the at the 2-week and the 1-week. So could she actually catch a little bit above that? Yeah, it's possible. Could she actually come down here and collect the entire 3-month zone right there where the 200 or the 2-day 800 EMA lies? Yeah, I think she could. I think she could. The thing is, we do get, right? This was 2024 here. We do get these zones that get left behind, right? So they don't always collect all of this off the 3-month. And that is a little bit of confluence for me toward the possibility of a bounce off that top, off that high. I mean, we've already, done it once, so to speak. Could we do it again? I mean, anything is possible, but personally, I see them coming down into that 3-month zone a little bit further and collecting a bit more off of it. That 3-month zone is marked by, let's see, you've got a weekly here, weekly and 3-day zone right there. It's also the bottom of a 2-week. So it's possible. From my view, it's totally possible that we see that move come down. I think we'll slide through the 3-week 50 EMA. Just with all the rejections that we keep getting off that 50 EMA, especially the one off the weekly. I mean, that's a pretty hard rejection. I don't see the 50 EMA holding, not as strong as support. What would be the telltale? Losing that 76,182 zone on the bottom of the 6-hour and the 17-hour. You lose that, and I can definitely see that 2-day 800 EMA coming in. You might, like I said, catch some temporary support here at the 5-day 200. But that's all I can see it being. I mean, losing the daily 800 EMA after making a new all-time high like that, that's just, in her history, she's never come back up for another new all-time high until after she's found her bear market bottom for that cycle. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Any upside, I mean, that's going to be difficult, really. You've got a lot of resistance at the 3-day 200 SMA, the 1-hour 800 EMA, the daily 50. I mean, this is all resistance. These are all your moving averages from the lower time frames up into the higher time frames. Your 23-hour has been huge resistance. This is your weekly 50 EMA and that hard rejection there, right? So with the way it's really been rejected, and that's a hard rejection, I don't see this holding support. And if it does, not for long. It may be on lower time frames. A lot of times you can hit those types of things and you can get some chop right on lower time frames, like under your 4 hour and under type of thing. But I'm really just expecting or suspecting, let's say, this zone here to be more of a support zone on the low end of this zone here, like maybe possibly hitting some support at the 5-day 200, wicking down to the bottom of that weekly zone. And depending on where this 2-day 800 EMA is, it could be finding support slightly above or even at it. The other thing that I've been tracking is your Guasian channel, right? When you look at your Guasian channel, you go back to that on the weekly, especially, it's not uncommon to get that bounce off the top of the weekly Gaussian here, right? You get that bounce off the top of the weekly Gaussian and then you fall through, right? You get that top off, that bounce off the top here and fall back into it. And here's where the 50 EMA kind of acted as support. But once she lost the 50 EMA, she lost it. So you can go back and look at how many touches on the weekly price action will do, right? But typically, once it loses that weekly, it's going to enter that Gaussian channel, even if it has a bounce up. And in this cycle, we did have that 1-2 touch, right? We had it quite a few touches here. But we held support at the 50 EMA. We held support at the 50 EMA and bounced. Here, when we lost that 50 EMA, we went to the bottom of the weekly Guasian channel. The other thing that is coming in is this weekly Guasian channel is about to turn red. The 5-day just turned red. It's lost its support. Here's your high right here, your high resistance, right? At 95,563. That's been printed on the 5-day. I think they've already collected what they're going to take off of it. And I think that they're going to come right on back down to test the top of this here. I mean, it just, where she's at, I just don't see going into a higher all-time high, right? For this cycle, not until she collects the liquid off her bottom. How far can she go? Well, for now, we're looking at that 2-day 800 EMA range. I mean, even here, we're at the top of the Gaussian channel on the 2-week. Look at this. You can travel it sideways. You can travel it sideways. But once you lose it, it's lost, right? That move down before finding support, even on the 2-week, look at that move down once it loses support off the top. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was it's like, okay, do I wait for the move to come in and then post, or do I kind of put out a few different perspectives here of what's going on? in the market. And believe me, like, I'm not one to really get offended if you don't like my perspective, right? Because it just tells me that you have a different perspective. Perhaps it's one that I haven't seen. And I'm always willing to look at that one. But I also look at what support does it have? What confluence is there for that theory? Because I could go through here and I could point to upside all day long. I mean, like I could, you know, draw my little arrows and say, oh, I think she'll bounce here and go here, or what if this, then that. But what I'm seeing and what I have been seeing since August, actually, and especially with the top coming in, with the top coming in October over here, I knew that was the first touch on the top of that Guasian channel. There were also some switching around and crossing over of moving averages that were signaling this. So I knew once we got that next high that this was going to be a thing. And the moving averages that I see crossing right now, they're not small crosses, right? They might not be popular. They may not be crosses that everybody looks at, but I look at them, right? So for instance, here, let's turn on let's turn on this one. Yeah. This is your 3-day 55 SMA here. Now, sometimes we can get a swipe through before falling through this 233. That's what this orange moving average is. That's my 233 SMA. The green is my 200 SMA, and the red is my 144 SMA. This cross of the 55 SMA below the 144 SMA typically brings quite a move down. And if you look, it doesn't happen often, right? It's the 3-day. But when it does, like right here, right? We got that test. We got these rejections off the 50. We did find support on them, but bounced back strong and tested the 55 at the 144 before it got the hard rejection and came down. And it did catch temporary support here at the 200, right? And even at the 233. But once that 55 SMA crosses under, right? Because it's this move that draws this 55 SMA down, right? These are moving averages based on what price action has done. So this move, right, into this 200 and this 233 draws this 55 SMA under your 144 SMA, and look at the type of move that comes in. Let's go back to previous runs, right? Like, let's go back here. Let me see. Yeah, that's 2017. Here, it caught support on the 233 and even along the 200, but it had that check of the 55 SMA and that rejection, that hard rejection, is what drew that 55 SMA under the 144 SMA, and that led to more downside, right? That constant rejection off the 50 EMA and 55 SMA, the loss of the 233 and the 200 brings in that bottom move. It's pretty much the same all the way through. Once that cross of the 55 SMA comes in underneath the 144 SMA, On the 3-day, we see that move down, right? Even with a back test of the 50 and 55 as rejection, that move comes down. It's happened, well, what was that? That's your 2013, 2017, 2021. So that's been another big cross that I've been looking at. And here we are. We've just had our rejection off the 50 EMA. This move down here is drawing the 55 SMA underneath it. I mean, there's signal after signal. I could go even down as low as the 4-hour, right? And show crosses that are coming in on the 4-hour that do not come in very often, right? Let me see, is it the 4-hour I was looking at? Oh God, let me see. No, it might have been the 23. I'm sorry, the 23 hour. Let's go to the 23 hour. I have learned to love the 23 hour and to respect it greatly, actually. So here we see on the 23 hour, once she pulls all her major moving averages under her 23 hour 800 EMA, there's a move down, right? So you have your 144, your 233, your 300, your 200 being dragged under this blue moving average, which is the 800 EMA. These typically come in first. Yep, there's a rally. That's your 50 EMA and your 55 SMA. We came close here with no go, right? That bounce let me know that we were going to move to a new high, right? Let's see here. Okay. Now you've got your major moving averages coming in to cross under your 800 EMA here. In this one, this was 2019, right? That's your CVID move there. But if you look here, once the major moving averages came and crossed, that final one crossed under the 800 EMA on the 23 hour, it was just a matter of time, but we had that move down, right? That was in 2018 off of your 2017 top over here, okay? We'll go back even further and see here. Once we brought in those major moving averages under the 23 hour 800 EMA, that was your final moving average there. You have a back test of it and a move down. That's off of your 2013 top. So the 23 hour has been really useful for me in determining what is to come. And now that doesn't mean that it's going to come quickly. It doesn't mean it's going to come in a day, right? We touched the 23 hour 800 EMA here and caught support here and here, right? I know a lot of people have been liking this move in particular, I believe, because of the W. But the thing is, we weren't at the 800 EMA on the daily, right? We caught it on the 23 hour. We caught support on the 23 hour 800. And because we did that, we never made it to the daily 800 EMA. Now we're actually at the daily 800 EMA, right? Not only that, but we're inside the Guasian channel on the weekly, right? Back here in these moves, we caught support off that 50 EMA off the top of that Guasian channel and bounced. Never made it to the daily 800, right? Never made it inside here. Here we go. This is different. This is a different move. This move to me looks more like this move. The only real difference that I'm seeing is that this one bounced off the daily 800 inside and a little higher than the bottom of the weekly Guasian channel, whereas this one caught it at the bottom of the weekly Guasian. We've not been able to even get over the middle right now because being stopped out by the 50 EMA, right? So if we just go by moving averages, right, this is just collecting liquid, this sideways trading, enticing traders, right? They want to entice traders to go long, right? Then they want to take their money and they want to go short. So I just see too many signals that are saying that we're now headed toward that 2-day 800 EMA. I mean, if you go back in your charts, you look at your lower time frames and look at how often it gets rejected off of those lower 800 EMAs, right? Like it needs to really start conquering them, and not just conquering the 1 hour, but it needs to conquer the 4 hour, right? It needs to draw the 1 hour 800 EMA above the 4 hour 800 EMA. And that is not happening. Those moving averages are growing closer to one another, but it's not done it quick enough that it can pull it up before the weight of the bulls or the bear. I mean, not the bulls, but the weight of the bears, right? Orders. It's like they want to take this lower. And so I think that's where we're going. I think we're going to see much lower. I think we have a possibility of seeing anywhere inside this range just based on this here, right? This is what we can consider a bear flag, right? You've got the pole here. You've got this upward trend, which is a rally. It's now broken out to the downside, and this is on the 2-day. This is on your daily here. Breaking out on that downside. Could we catch some support here? You might temporarily, in my view, catch support there. Like I said, temporarily, it's coming in at the daily 800, losing that zone there at the daily 800. And now we're looking at the 3-week 50 EMA. And I think you guys have my theory on that. So I hope that helps some of you guys. I don't know. Just thought I'd take a quick look and put this out there so that you can see it. There are tons and tons and tons of signals that I could go through that show this downside. I just don't want to take a lot of time to do that now. I've already taken a good, 30 minutes or so, maybe more. So I'll let you guys have at it. Love you, sending you looping waves of love and joy and peace and all of that. Hope you have a safe winter. I know that the ice, snow, sleet, freezing rain storm has affected a lot of people. And so I've been just kind of lifting everyone up, hoping that, we all get through this without any more loss of life and become better and stronger for it. So I will leave you all now. Miss you tons, but have a great day and peace.